the meeting to order. Just want to go a quick roll call. Anitra, I am here. Dan is not here. Debbie, you're here. Gloria, you're here. Joyce, Linda, Terry is not here. Hi, Betty Sue.
Hello.
And hi, Kathy. And to everybody else on our meeting today. At this time, we're just going to go ahead and stand and the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
broad, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, so to get started, has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
The agenda.
And at this time, is there any changes or any adjustments or anything that anybody would like to add, subtract to the agenda?
I have a question, Anitra. As far as reviewing the agenda, they have on here the August Treasurer's financial report. I think that's too early, isn't it? The August report, we're in the month of August now. So we wouldn't have, I believe we wouldn't have a financial report to make a motion on.
Okay, so that should be removed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other changes? Okay. Would anybody like to move to adopt the agenda as presented with the changes of the August Treasurer's financial report being removed?
I so move.
Okay. Anybody like to second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? I'm sorry. What is my? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Excuse me. Okay, on to director's report. Betty Sue, the floor is yours.
All righty. I am not going to go over very much of the report because I don't need you to take actions on them. The first page was about the book vending machine. That will be taken to the Finance Committee for approval. The money is already here, but I'm understanding that regardless of where the money is, it still needs to be approved by the Finance Committee. So what I've done is send all the information out about it so you will know what it is. And this is the grant that came from Xerox. And we will be all the information is there about it. If you have any questions, holler and I'll explain further. Under grants, I have heard nothing on the EV charging station again. I will reach out to them once more. Stacy Kirby and I have not met, and I got a phone call from her just before the meeting, so I should have something on that next month. On the overdue policy amendment, I am asking to have 2 little pieces of wording changed. Therefore, it is an amendment, not a new policy. Under the current policy, it reads now, books may be borrowed for 3 weeks. I would like to add the word magazines. That used to be that libraries worried about holding on to magazines be saved for research purposes. That's no longer necessary. So it would be much more streamlined for us to just have 1 period for any print material. The other one is the DVDs have always been able to be borrowed for 1 week. That comes from the days of video stores, and that was our competition, so to speak. And there you had to have them back in like a day. Where we're running into problems with this right now is because of the quarantine. When it comes back to us, if somebody had it checked out for a week and they return it on the 6th day, we have to quarantine that for 3 days. that means they start getting overdue notices, even if we're not going to charge them. If we change that to 2 weeks, and I would recommend not telling them that yet, we'll just be able to not have this sort of messy little thing. So those are the two things I'm asking. And if you decide that I can do that, I'll just have Barb print up a new page with those two wording changes for the next meeting. Under donations, check out Superman in the teen room. The diversity committee. Mike Manguson has done a lot of work trying to figure out a structure for this and how we want to go about. I don't think this is his draft. I think it looks pretty good already. But please read, and maybe we can discuss it and have Mike come to a meeting next week and talk about how we're going to be next with that. He has done a one book discussion that 4 people signed up for, but only 1 participated. And he's planned 2 more to be done by Zoom. The person who participated loved it. 3 more. He's already planned 3 more. One is what? How not to be an anti-racist. And 2 more. And we'll send those out to you and let you know. He's made the posters for him, and we're going to continue trying to do Zoom book talks on these topics. We're also finding that some of the suppliers of information things to us, such as Hoopla or Baker Taylor, are organizing book discussions based on these kinds of topics. So we're taking advantage of that. We also have gotten ideas from the emails that Joyce sends me that are the Washington, D.C. Public Library websites and their listing of programming and things like that, and they've given us good ideas. Any place we can get ideas, we're trying to use them. So if there's anybody on the board who would like part of the committee, you just get a hold of Mike and we'll go from there. The library signage, I didn't have anything until about 4:30 this afternoon. We were looking at replacing the signs in the library that was created with paper and cardboard and artboard and whatever. And it really has held up well, but there are 2 problems. Some of the ones have become very tattered because they are in areas where they can be touched. Other ones don't identify what we need them to identify. For example, the names are by each of the meeting rooms, but you can't see them when you walk into the room because they're on the side of the wall. So we want to identify those rooms probably with stick-out tags. The other problem is in the stacks when we have the call numbers or the letters of the alphabet listed in fiction, we shift and then they're wrong. So Take Form out of Medina, which I think I explained here, came and toured with us, and they sent me their recommendations. And then I will send those on. I don't know which committee that should go to for approval. Buildings and Grounds? I don't know, but it has to go to a committee from what I understand. So sometime between now and the next meeting, we'll find the right committee and I'll see that they get it. And I will send all of the specs off to the board members so they can take a look as well. We don't have any prices yet, but what they say is we can do this in pieces. If there are just a few we want now, we can add others later. If we don't want to do any of them, we can just turn the whole project down, okay? And the one thing somewhere is going to need to be discussed tonight is where you want us to go with the hours and the programming. We have not done any outside programming, nor have we done any in-house programming through the months of August. I reached out through our communications to the other NIOGA directors, and today there was a Zoom meeting with the directors, and this is one of the topics they discussed. Most of the other libraries do not want to change their hours or their programming plans until into September, because they want to see what's going to happen with the schools. They're very afraid if they start opening up and any of the schools have to pull back, then we might have to pull back too. But if things go well with the school, then maybe that's the time for us to move forward. But because there was a COVID committee formed, I think this has to at least be decided by the COVID committee as to where I go with that. So until I am directed, I will leave the hours and the programming schedule the way it is. Then there is one other item that really is a last minute item that you have no information on. And not sure where this should be, because it probably needed to go to a committee, but it can't because it is an emergency. I sent to you all this morning an email, a set of emails that I have been exchanging with Train, because on Tuesday, the main compressor that operates our condensing unit outside the building here died. It went into alarm, and then it flipped its switch, and then it grounded itself and burned out. We need to be very grateful that it grounded itself and didn't burn out the rest of the system. I called Train that afternoon, right after I got the notification on this, and said, this is not an emergency. We are still cooling the building, but I need to have somebody here as soon as possible. What I didn't want was to have them send out somebody on an emergency basis and pay overtime and whatever, and when they could do it the next day. So on Tuesday, a tech from Train came, whose name is Kevin. Because we had the problems with the mics before, when I didn't identify who Mike was that was mowing the lawn, I gave you a breakdown here that Kevin is from Train, not Kevin Doherty, okay? He came out and he says, oh yeah, you need a new compressor. Nope. Yes. So he took all the specs back, and I spoke with Joe Gounger, called me yesterday afternoon about 5:15, and we spent a long time on the phone talking about what was needed, and then he spent the evening finding the specs, and today he sent me the quote, which I also sent to you because it's whopping expensive. It is $5,900 some odd dollars. Now, in the meantime, the two other air compressors are running the condenser unit. The problem with that is that the two that are running it are smaller than the blue, and therefore it's putting huge strain on them. So we don't want to wait on this because you don't want this whole system to shut down. I then called Kurt Strickland because I thought I understood that in talking to the finance committee that they wanted to know if Kurt Strickland could take over for us what Train has been doing. And I thought, well, I should check. So I called, and then he and I had a very nice conversation last night. And his recommendation was stay with Train. They know your system, they know your stuff. I do not have access to get a hold of an air compressor as quickly as they do, and you need to get this. As an aside, as I said in my email, we then had a long talk about whether or not we could share duties of taking care of this system between Kurt Strickland on a level and Train on a more corporate level with the bigger projects, the bigger concerns. That doesn't need to be discussed tonight. I think that will still go back to either finance or buildings and grounds. But I need to know what you are going to want me to do. When I talked to Joe again this morning, as soon as he gets permission from us, he will order the part. It could take up to 5 days to get here. He also said that he is available tonight if anybody questions, that I could feel free to call him and he would be happy to, I would put him on speaker and he would answer any questions you have about this. And so now I turn it over to you and ask you, what is it that you as a board want me to do.
So you're saying that we have two smaller ones that are running the building. They're running probably over capacity because of our heat, correct?
Of our cooling.
Or cooling,
Yes.
yes. They're running
Yes, they
over
are running
capacity.
over harder than they normally do, yes.
Okay.
And they are smaller units than the one that blew.
Right, so they are running at over capacity, trying to make
Correct.
up for the larger unit. How long are they run per day? Is it
Right
on a
now, we're
schedule?
running them 24/7 because we don't want the building temperature to increase and then try to bring it up. It's easier to maintain it
Right.
than
You're
it is
supposed-
to
you're
let
supposed
it.
to be within 3 degrees to keep it at an average.
Yeah, yeah, what we are doing by leaving it running.
How much do we have budgeted in for?
You know, let me look. You can keep talking, I will look.
Well, those were my questions. I don't know if anyone else has any others.
I don't know why I
My-
didn't look that up, Linda.
My questions is that if we're running the two smaller ones 24/7 and they're covering, making up for a larger one, if that whole system goes down, our expense is gonna be much greater than $5,000 that we're looking at now.
Absolutely.
So in terms of replacing the whole system, if we do that, we're going to put this off for a month, which I personally don't feel is a good thing to do when we know what the problem is and what the solution is. If we put this off for a month and then the whole system falls apart, we have not been very prudent with our resources. We are still under contract with Train currently, correct? Betty
Yes,
Sue?
that contract expires at the end of October or the beginning of October. And so that's why we're talking to anybody we might want to use in place of them or with them by that. Their annual costs are over $6,000. And I had Barb pull all the bills. We pay 4 times a year. They come out twice a year and check the system. I said, it's sort of like taking your car in to have it inspected, and they change the filters and do all that stuff. And I know they've been out here a few times and we've never gotten a bill. Now this will have a bill for,
Right.
but the concern was, were we paying them a small fortune and then paying them on top of it? It does not appear that we have been anything beyond the yearly costs.
My understanding, can I just say one thing? My understanding is that we're the member of a like a little consortium there.
Yes.
And because of that, we are getting a discount
Yes.
for this particular compressor. So there are some advantages to us acting on this while we're under contract with them versus waiting.
I understand a large amount. Do we have any money in the budget for like a maintenance?
I'm looking.
I
I'm
tried to
looking.
find it really quick. I don't think we honestly can wait on this.
No, I don't think so.
As Mrs. Riley had said, I think if we wait, and if the weather wasn't supposed to be in the high 80s and 90s, I think we'd have time. If this was in a cooler September, we might be able to eke it out, but judging by what the forecast looks like, I say we have to, unfortunately, incur this expense.
All right, it also would depend on what line item you wanted this taken from.
I'm trying to find this.
Under maintenance, at this point in time, we have spent 83% of the budget, which is $33,000 out of $40,000. So there still is $7,000 there. Under service contracts and expenses, which is where Train's original costs come from, we've only spent 16% of that budget. So if we could work that, if we needed it to put it under contracts, because it's going with somebody that we already have a contract with, there's another place we could take some. The same thing with contractual expenses.
I don't think contractual would be the right one, but I
Well,
think,
contractual expenses are Ron Tower with maintenance, Terry Bureau for cleaning and things like that. It would be a cheat, but there is money.
I mean, if it was $5,900, technically we could take $2,000 out of each of those, right?
Right,
think
you
so.
could split it.
I would say if we can split it, why not split it? I mean, it doesn't technically matter too much, I wouldn't think, but
I would just like, I agree with what I'm hearing. I would just like to just bring to everybody's attention, looking over this scope of service, even though we know this is about $5,928, there's a possibility that there might be some additional fees. That's and I just want to throw that on the table. There's a possibility there might be additional fees reading over the scope of service. I just wanted to throw that out there since we're trying to determine where we're going to take the money from.
And I can tell you one of the areas that might be. When I went upstairs with the tech guy, there is a little filter there. And he said, oh, yay, that's a canister filter. We can just remove that because there will be acids since this system blew. He said, we can remove that and not have to dump the whole system, which is very expensive. But if something happened that they did have to dump the whole system, yeah, it would be a lot more expensive. So I don't know if what they're doing is putting that in there in case something else goes wrong before they get to it, or just covering themselves if they find something they didn't anticipate. I don't know.
well, usually you put that in case there's something else that might.
Right.
Yes, in a perfect scenario, you take your car in to have its brakes, and then all of a sudden you need all the rotors and you need all these other things. Again, sadly, I don't think we have the time to really put off this issue.
Right.
Well, I also think it was very nice that, because I had been talking to him about the Money Act and the fact that we're looking at alternatives, and I'm going to guess that that's why he didn't charge us for the diagnosis that Kevin came out and gave us that day, which they certainly could have billed us for, but didn't.
Nothing like this was on the radar at the time?
Never.
Betty Sue?
Never.
Okay.
This is an out of the blue. What he did say is, because he was talking about whether or not there were any warranties, and he said, you've been out of warranty now for years, and this is not an unexpected thing. What I would like to do is, how long do you think we have on the other ones? Because that will be something you probably should start building into buildings and grounds. Correct.
Right.
But never had a clue because I didn't know that. Like I said, there was no HVAC 101 when I was in library school.
Okay. I would like for us to motion to incur the expense for the repair of the compressor based on the bill, what do we call it? The quote from Train.
Okay.
For,
Can you change one word in that, Joyce?
yes,
And it's not the repair, it's the replacement.
the replacement
Yes.
of the compressor
The air
for
compressor.
Train. The air compressor, that was a total of, what's the,
528,
yes,
get it?
yeah, I
So-
want to,
So here's a thing. They come out here, they're going to repair it. Across another issue, now it's going to be another $5,000 or $7,000. That's something that when they're here.
Can you say that again, Linda?
So if they're out here and they're replacing it and they come across another issue, they have to drain the whole system. I don't know how much that would cost.
I don't either.
But we have to have something in place that either,
to cover for that
well, to
on the
cover
spot.
it, on the spot. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because once you get into that, you don't really know. And I don't know if we can, if they start it, they can't just leave it sitting there until we meet and decide again. Is this something that if it was another $5,000, we could draw from our line
It's
of
actually
credit?
$6,000 if we
Well,
look
Yeah,
at it.
5,928. Do you
Yeah.
want me to call Joe and ask him that question?
Yes.
You
I would
vote-
rather have,
What is the max he thinks it could be above this, should there be something else awry?
Okay, I will call him.
Okay.
In the meantime, why don't I turn my mute on? And I will turn it on when I get him on the phone, okay?
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just to check my understanding, what two accounts were we, because I know you guys were saying that we would split it in half or take, 2,000 from one and 2,000. So what two accounts?
Well, that was just a thought, in
Just a
case.
thought. Okay.
It was just if we were too close on some of them, you can kind of shift money around, but if we really want to, in the end, we could split it up between those three that Mrs. Miller
Multiple
mentioned,
resources.
which
Okay.
was 6992, line 6992, line 975.
6975, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was line 6449.
Okay. Perfect.
I think those are the three that Mrs. Miller had mentioned,
Okay. Thank you.
if I am correct. Gloria, do you agree?
I really wasn't paying much attention. I was looking for something, but yeah. I agree that we need to have this fixed right now because what's going to happen is the longer we wait, it could get worse.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm not sure if Debbie or Kathy, who's listening as well, I don't know if it'd be better to take it out of like three of them and split it up, take it out of one and rob the whole thing and then have to rob one later. And say it goes from 6,000 to 10,000, then I think we'd really need to try and split it. Anyone's thoughts?
Well, I agree with splitting it between those two. And I just had a question. Have we been doing maintenance on, so how, should they have said to us, hey, you know what, this is looking bad? Or is it one of those act of God things?
It's just one of those random things, I think.
Okay.
And it's also very old. It's been here since was that not put in at the time?
It
And
was.
she said it didn't owe us anything, in terms of longevity.
And I think in Betty Sue would probably be able to correct me. I think the cost of maintaining the warranty on it, I think at that time was too high. You know what I mean? There comes a point that you pay more than you did for the original unit if you continue. But that's just my very bad memory. So.
That was just the only thing I was thinking, geez, how come it's all of a sudden? But okay, that makes sense.
No.
That's just bad luck, anything. So while Mrs. Miller is waiting, can we go on to the next item on the
We
agenda?
most certainly can. So next on the list would be committees. First and foremost, as far as committees are concerned, I'm not sure who's joined what committee or how many committees still need additional people to join in order to be appropriately, I guess, staffed. I think the only 2 or 3 committees that I know of so far are the Personnel, Finance, and Buildings and Grounds. Not really sure what's going on with that. So if you have not signed up for more than one committee, is that something that, can you all please do so as soon as possible so that we can get these committees up and rolling and conducting business as we should? At this time, I believe the only committee that has met is the Finance Committee, and they have a report to share with us. Gloria, is that your thing or is that Joyce?
Oh, wait, can I jump in and go back to
Yes.
to our other issue because I have Joe on the phone.
Okay,
And he is telling me, and if he needs to, he will speak. But I will see if I can translate it to you and go from there first, okay? He said there can be no guarantee. That
Right.
you get in there and you find that there's another problem. The system all the system is the same age. So there are no guarantees that there can't be another problem. He said the other thing is with the cleanup. When the compressor goes to ground, it releases an acid. Am I right on that, Joe?
Right, yeah, the going to ground creates a creation of an acid in the system.
Okay.
The electrical component, the electrical interaction that happens there when the compressor goes to ground, it will create an acid in the system. That acid in the system reacts with the refrigerant. It can start to eat away the system. So in our proposal, we have some acid cleanup included in that, but until we open the system, we don't know exactly how much acid is in the system and how much cleanup is required. So we had our first some filter kits to be installed once we do the work to clean up the acid, and then we'll make a return visit and take those out and put a regular filter back in. But depending on the acid content when we make our return trip, we may need extra acid filters for longer cleanup time. That we won't know. It's an unknown thing. I don't price extra work in up front and overinflate the job. If we get to that point, we'll let you know and say, hey, it does need more acid cleanup. We're going to need a little bit extra money to come back and do that work. I hate to do it that way, but it's the best way for everybody because I'm not overinflating my price to cover myself and taking money from you. I'm only taking money for the work that's needed at the time.
Can everybody hear him?
yes, I got a question.
And I have,
Okay,
I have a question as well.
Yeah, so you're saying that if you get in there and you find that there is an additional problem, that you may be able to do the main crux of the problem and then come back at another time. You know, you will let us know what that additional second phase was, and then come back and do that when we have figured out how we're going to pay you for the second part.
Right. Once we get the damaged compressor out and put the new compressor in, we put the acid filter in with it, and we get you operational. It needs to run. The refrigerant needs to run through the circuit for a period of time so the acid filter can absorb all the acid and pull it out of the system. And then we will return, pull that filter out, do an acid test to make sure that we've cleaned the system of all the acid, and then put the standard filter back in and be on our way. That's all included in the project.
Oh, that's all part of the project.
Visit to swap filters and find that the acid has not all been cleaned up because it was a really bad burnout, then we will need to put new acid filters in again for the additional longer period of cleanup, at which point we'll need to make another return visit and another acid test. In general, if we had to do that, each trip we made back would be probably around $500-600.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
If is the system that's running now, the two smaller ones, are they circulating that acid that you say can eat away at the inside of the system?
They are two separate circuits
Okay.
running independently of each other.
Okay, so we're not running acid through the whole entire system, just the one down, which is obviously not running anything at the moment.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And then there is one more unknown factor
Mhm.
that when we go and take the refrigerant that's there out and go to dispose of it because it does have the acid in it, and we put the new compressor in and the new filter in, and we put pressure on it to make sure all the connections are solid. If we happen to find a leak in the system elsewhere outside of the
What happened?
When Betty Sue muted we can't hear him anymore.
Yeah, yeah. He was telling us about the additional,
Person on the phone anymore.
A possible leak.
yeah, and that's listed in here in the scope of the service as well.
Betty,
Right.
Sue, is he still on the line?
Yeah, you're still there, Joe, right?
Yeah, but
Yep.
when
But
you
we
muted
can't hear.
yourself, we couldn't hear him.
When you
Wait,
were talking
what?
about the refrigerator,
We're on the phone with the other person. You muted yourself. When you muted yourself, you muted him.
Oh my God, I muted myself, and because you're on my speaker, I muted you.
Right.
I'm
right.
so sorry.
So you
what
were
was the
talking
question
about,
that he didn't get?
no, he was talking about if he comes in there and you have to find out, you have to replace all of the refrigerant, correct?
right, and there's
We
a
already
leak.
know we have to replace all the refrigerant. That is a given because of the burnout.
Right,
But what we don't know is if there's any leaks in the system, because when our tech was there, the use system wasn't running, it wasn't under pressure, so he couldn't tell if there were leaks anywhere. So when we put the new components in, we will pressurize the system to make sure it is leak-free. And especially for the work that we're doing, we need to check our connections and our brazing to make sure that our work is good. But when we do pressure on it, if we find that the pressure doesn't hold because there's leaks somewhere else in the circuit, we're going to have to spend time to find and fix those leaks at that point. So that's the other one I was talking about. There's no other way to quote it because it's an unknown. We don't know until we put pressure on it.
okay. So now I understand from what you said previously that it might be, if there's a problem, $500 to $600 to come back out if there is an acid, if the acid going to ground is not readily fixed the first time. And now if there's a leak in the system, once it's up and running, and you have to trace the leak and resolve it, in worst case scenario, what would be the range? Because we're trying to get a guesstimate on what we're looking at is at a cost to discuss
Sure.
this with our board.
Yeah. So it could take as little as, maybe half a day of time or $150 or so. It could take 2 or 3 days of the technician tracing things around and finding it and fixing wherever the holes are. Or if the leak is on the coil itself and not in the piping that connects to inside the building and outside the building, there's the condenser coil on the outside of the building that is used to reject the heat out to the atmosphere. That is a micro channel coil, which means if that coil develops a leak in it, it cannot be repaired in the field. An entire new coil has to be installed, in which case there we're talking thousands of dollars of extra repair work.
So the longer it sits unused, unpressurized, the more damage we are doing, correct?
Potentially.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. The damage is done. Nothing's circulating in there. It's sitting where it's sitting. You don't want it to go too long because you need that system running for your building, especially for humidity control with the archives that are there. So while the comfort level is okay running on half of the system, if you start to get humid days, you might be comfortable temperature-wise, but the humidity levels won't be able to be achieved that you want.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does that cover your questions?
Covers mine.
Yep.
Okay. Then I can say goodnight to Joe and
Good
you
night,
will
Joe.
carry on.
Thank you, Joe.
They're saying thank you, Joe. I'm going to walk out for just a minute.
Okay, so
I still feel like we need to make a motion for the repair. Now the question is, for how much are we talking about having for this? And where are we gonna get the additional monies should we need it?
Well, at this point, we really don't know how much it's going to cost, you know. Hopefully, it's not going to cost any more than what he has on the proposal, but when they get in there and start working, and if they find that they
That's
need to
true.
do it, yeah. So it would be hard to put a dollar amount on that. And what I would
But
like,
we do need to put a dollar amount on it.
I don't think we do.
mm-mm.
And the only reason I don't think we do, because then if it's over that, then we have to do again. I would rather when they come out and they go to do it,
Mhm.
that, I don't know, maybe we get an email or something and saying, hey, look, this is what's going to be. Here's a new quote. And I mean, basically, we kind of have to approve it.
My question is though, if we don't put up a price on it and they come out, I mean, when they come out and do an assessment, it's usually a price to that. And if he does phase 1 and there's not a problem, by that time we should be getting ready for our next board meeting to look at any additional costs that may be coming out of that.
So then,
Because if we're going to pay either way, whether it's 59 or whether it's 69.
Oh, I was thinking up to 10.
Mhm.
That's true. Well, that's
I mean, really,
providing,
if I were,
that's
if,
boom 1 and boom 2 and 3 don't go out.
Well, when he was talking, and he said if they had to order this, he said that
Yeah,
it was going to
that
cost.
little,
It's
yeah.
going to cost quite a bit. So I'm looking like, I agree with Linda. My antennas went up like, oh man, it could be about $10,000. But you
Yeah.
know, while we're waiting, Sue, I honestly don't think we need to. I know we're going to have to act on this tonight. This thing we definitely going to have to act on. But as far as worrying about the number it's going to come from, you know, I don't know if Barb can talk or not. Barb, you know, Barb is on the line. She would know exactly, you know what I'm saying, where the funds, you know, how to maneuver the funds around. The most important thing that we realize right now is that we have to get this done, even though we don't know the final cost, because it could be quite high.
so I know when the community approves the budget is just our budget. They don't approve like X amount for, like the school does,
No.
for taxes or anything.
Mhm.
So technically, in my understanding, we could move whatever we had to move
We can
around
move it around.
to cover it.
Yes. Yes.
I just don't, I don't want anyone to be stuck here when they come to replace it and say, hey, well, even if
You
they
know,
did, aside from the leak they would know that day. If it's a coil outside, they would know that day. And then we would still have time to say, basically, our hands are tied, we'd have to replace it anyways.
right.
I mean,
Well,
5,000 or
so
20, you know?
are you suggesting that we just make a motion that we move forward with the repair of the compressor? And that Train will bill us for the cost of the repair?
And can we just add into that motion or include in that to allow the finance committee, after all is said and done, to be able to make the final decision on what accounts that the funds will come
Yes.
out of to
Yes.
cover it?
That sounds reasonable.
Okay,
Sounds
so Joyce made the motion. Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second.
Okay. Oh, Debbie's got it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, so ordered. Thank you.
Wait, do we have to have, Kathy, you have to weigh in?
I thought she was, oh, oops, I'm sorry.
You're muted, though, just so you know.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we're good to go on that. Back to our committees.
I have a question to ask Betty Sue about the the book,
Vending
the
machine.
book thing, the bookmobile. Do we have any tentative numbers utilization for this?
You're
I-
muted, ma'am.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. What we're hoping to do is take the Birth to 5 program
We
and
currently have.
transition those kids into the next level. Teresa has the numbers. I know that they've been 60s and 70s and maybe even 100 kids.
That's all.
So we will do that. And the machine itself holds 200 to 300. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
And there's still money left from the grant to start purchasing books.
Okay. And that was my other question. Thank you.
Did we do something on the heating system here or on the,
Yes.
Yes.
We've opted to have you go ahead and have them do it, and that the finance committee will work to determine which accounts the money will be taken from.
okay. So I can send that to him tomorrow. They will, in fact, I will do it before I leave tonight so that they can order that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes. All right, were there any other questions for Betty Sue before we move on to our committees?
Can I ask a question, Anitris?
Sure.
We adopted the agenda, and I'm following the agenda. We haven't approved the minutes or the financial reports.
You're absolutely right. Somehow along the way, we jumped a couple steps. So let's just kind of go back for a second because we did not do election of secretary.
Right.
So with that being said, do we have any nominations for secretary at this time? Don't all speak at once.
We need a secretary.
Okay. I will ask again, do we have any nominations for secretary? Anybody willing to bite the bullet? If not, is this something that we want to table until next month? I don't feel like we can keep doing that, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot to say, hey, you have to do it, so.
You know, it's such, I'm going to say this, it's such an onerous job.
Yeah.
That one really wants to do it. And that at this point, I would say, I would recommend that we just literally rotate it month to month and a different person just gets an opportunity to do the notes and turn them in. Until such time someone decides that they really like doing that job, that we just pass it around until then. Because I personally, I don't like it. I'll be honest, but I will do it, and I'm my best. But that being said, I think it is something that could withstand being passed around so that everyone gets an opportunity to look at the details more closely. And you did it last time, right, Gloria?
Who, me?
Yes, you did this last.
I was doing it. Me and you were doing it last. I was doing
Yes.
it.
Oh, but I was talking about the one from last month.
Oh, the one we
Well,
had.
Allison did it. And I do recall, Ms. Joyce, that you did say that, hey, if you weren't here, I'd kind of take over and fill in. Hint, hint, wink.
To Allison, yes. Because Allison was Miss Full-Time.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Who is Allison?
Did
The
we,
board.
Allison
that-
didn't do these minutes.
No, you did.
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
No.
so,
Terry had sent out an email and he had asked for a volunteer. And I was going, after a couple of weeks, I was going to do the minutes, but then next thing I knew, these came out to us. So no, I didn't do these minutes.
Okay.
so I have a question. didn't we decide, or can't we just do the minutes as call to order, pledge of the flag, just do approved without all the detail behind it?
We had talked about it.
Yes, and
This is a recorded meeting. Everyone can see it. So if we kept the minutes just to
And only did the motions and
only did the motions. Thoughts? Anyone?
that. Because these, as long as they're virtual, you can go back for any detail that you need to justify what was done in the motion.
And I think the only reason we went fully detailed ones was over some issue, or like, oh, we want a little bit more clarification, and then it just snowballed. I mean, I don't have a problem with just saying here, motion approved, opposed.
I agree, Linda, as long as, and I'm going to throw this out there, as long as everyone on the board get a copy of Megan's notes. And the reason being is because you can attach it to, to the paper that you get with the motions and everything like that. But I think it's important because details are lost. I mean, you could get a sheet of, receive the minutes and details are lost. So I think it would be important that we also get a copy of Megan's notes to go along with it. Just my thought.
If I can jump in for just a second, I feel we've had enough problems with the secretaries over the past bit because we didn't have any continuity, and that would be my concern about passing it around. However, that being said, I drew up, and I didn't send it to you tonight because I figured there was enough other stuff to discuss. But I was listing the steps to be followed. The agenda will go to Barb. Barb will post the agenda. That Megan will do the notes will, and I said right on it, because the notes sometimes went to me and Barb and Terry as president, because nobody wanted the notes to go. And we're saying they were being inundated. So when I was drawing this up, I was going to say the note should go to those that are required and anyone else who wants them.
Right.
And if you are going to what's the word I'm gonna look at? Distill the notes into very brief minutes.
Right.
And I think the notes should go to everybody.
Yes.
And then the minutes can just be this simple. Yep, this was the motion, this was passed, and everything else you can eliminate all those heartaches of trying to do the minutes, then redo the minutes, and then amend the minutes, because your minutes will list the actions and the notes will tell you what took place besides it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes, it
Makes
does.
a lot of sense.
Yes, it does.
The notes still don't get all the detail, which is why if we have virtual, you could always go back and listen to it.
Yes.
If we are going to do the notes and we're going to do motions on them with a very brief cut down, I would prefer nobody's names in there, just a member asked this, a member asked that, because you could cut it down without someone being favorited or not. I wouldn't have a problem doing them. To cut it down to 2 or 3 sentences. And, if I didn't think the discussion warranted it, I wouldn't put any in there. It would just be motion passed.
Right. Superfluous discussions left out.
And then that way we have
they're already in the notes.
Right.
Yes.
The notes to look at.
Yes.
I agree with that, as long as all the board members get a copy, the notes as well.
I think the members need the notes, but before I was told not send them because people didn't want them. But if you're going to do the notes in lieu of the draft minutes, then it's going to accomplish what you needed to accomplish, and I would be happy to send it to everybody.
So let me ask this: if we make those part of our minutes, does the community have to get those drafts even though they're not edited? Because I'm not gonna edit Megan's notes. Like if I
No.
did, I
Right.
wouldn't edit it at all.
No, I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't clean up any of it.
No. There wouldn't be any need, I believe, for the community to get the notes.
I'm
Right.
not sure, I'm not
I
sure.
believe the community would need the minutes. There's a difference.
Okay.
The notes would be for the board, you know, to look at.
But we'll need to keep them on file.
They're
Right, we need-
always on file.
Yes.
They are
Okay.
already today on file.
Okay,
Barb's
so then
office.
there shouldn't be a problem.
No,
Okay.
there shouldn't be.
Then if that, I will volunteer the next 3 months to do the minutes, and if it goes badly, it's off to someone else.
I move that Linda Weller.
Okay, so you and yourself, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
We're going to second.
One
that.
last time, are there any other nominations? So can I ask for a motion to close the nominations for secretary?
Debbie did.
I'll move.
Oh,
Debbie.
and anyone wants to second that?
I'll second it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordered.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Anitris, real quick, before we go out, I just want to clarify something because it appears that people are under the impression that I did these minutes. I didn't do the
No.
July
Who
minutes.
did?
I started to do them, and I did. I'm going to be honest, I did send them to Terry, but in the meantime, these minutes came out, so I didn't do them. So I just want to make clarification right now.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah,
Terry did them.
Terry did them.
All right, so there is no public forum, of course, so
So,
we can move on from that. Somebody had something to say?
July 13
Go on,
minutes.
you're doing good.
Okay,
Did
so.
you do
on-
committees already?
Well, we're gonna backtrack because I kind of jumped way down after we somehow ended up on
Okay.
you. So we're just gonna
Okay.
go back. Did everybody have the opportunity to review the July 15th minutes?
Yes.
And are they okay as they are presented, or is there any corrections or adjustments that anybody would like to make?
I would just like to say, looking at the minutes, I believe the date should be July 15th. Mine showed June 15th on it.
I got a July 15th one.
Oh, okay, that's good. Mine's June.
Mine said
Okay.
June 2, Gloria.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
Fine.
And, under disbursement policy, a sentence was cut off. It said, Gloria said that,
Mhm.
and thank God for Zoom because I had to go back in and, well, what did I say? And what we were doing, we were talking about the disbursement policy, and I had mentioned that I had had a copy of the disbursement policy, and then Joyce said to take it to the finance committee. So to complete that sentence, I don't know how you want to complete it, but I did have a copy of the policy. I said years ago, they must have had a policy at one point, and it was 4.3. So, you know, the sentence was cut off, so that's why I mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, see, and if I had to have done those, I just would have cut off that sentence.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I would have too. Yep.
So we either add what Gloria had just mentioned, or we
Yes.
leave those 3 words off and leave it to virtual.
Okay.
Either one.
You do it.
Anyone? Debbie, Kathy, any thoughts?
And keep this in mind, that this here would be the same with the notes too, because the notes would appear this way too, so.
Right.
Yeah. But like you said, if you're doing the minutes, I would have just left it off.
Okay, so
And
that's what we'll do,
really-
just leave it off.
Mhm.
So
All
we're
right,
gonna
ahead.
remove Gloria said that.
Yes.
Okay.
And then under new business, where it was motion to approve Megan as recording secretary. In a way, it was when Joyce made the motion, it was to approve Megan Cowell to continuation as, and rate of continuation as recording secretary, and rate of pay is stated $50 a meeting.
Okay, so that should be added.
That
Yes.
should be
Mhm.
added.
So you want to say that again so we can all write it down?
Okay. Motion to approve Megan, how you pronounce your last name, Megan? Coyle.
Oil.
Continuation as recording secretary. Rate of pay as stated, $50. And that's all I have as far as,
Okay, anybody else? Okay, what is to move to adopt the July 15 minute?
So
Oh.
since
Linda.
Terry did these, correct?
I don't know if Terry did them or not. I don't know who.
Me
I
too.
did them.
I don't
Huh?
know. I have no idea. They just appeared in my mailbox.
Well, we can always find out from Terry.
Well,
There you
but yeah,
go.
because whoever did them should make, unless, oh,
Should
Barb
sign
make,
them.
or,
Yes, they need to, yeah.
They need to be
I'm sorry.
signed.
yes, and the date, like the one I have says June 15th. So we have the
Right.
date and those things removed and added.
I don't know why mine says July.
So can we can approve the July 15 minute, July 15th minutes? Once we figure out later who they belong to.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so
I
who
move
wants?
that we approve the July 15 minutes
Okay,
with the changes.
Thank you. Anyone want a second?
Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, Kathy got it, okay.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hands. Opposed? Okay, so ordered. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the June Treasurer's Financial Report?
Yes.
Are there any questions, concerns, issues with that? No? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to adopt the June Treasurer's Financial Report?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Anyone want to second?
Gloria?
Okay, Gloria? All in favor? Opposed? So ordered. Thank you. All right, and then
Can I interrupt
finally,
for 1 second?
yes, ma'am.
I have sent the contract in, just so that it is there as soon as possible and it can be ordered first thing in the morning.
Perfect.
So
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, has everybody had the opportunity to review the July Treasurer's Report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions, concerns, issues? We're good?
Yep.
Okay, would anybody like to move to accept the July Treasurer's Financial Report? Okay, Debbie, and I'd like to second. Joyce, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? So ordered, thank you. All right, now we're back down to committees. So again,
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. Nope, so again, I'm not sure because all of the emails were funneled to Terry as far as who signed up for what committees this time, I'm not sure. But we will turn the floor over to the Finance Committee with their report because I believe they were the only ones that met.
Yes.
So Joyce, go ahead with that.
The Finance Committee met on the 7th of August at 10:30 at the library. I was selected as chair. President was Terry Wilbert, Gloria Nodden, and Betty Sue Miller, the director. One of those that I sent Terry an email to ask about if he had all the signatories done, and he wrote back, signatories for all the checking accounts have been completed, and he said that we will need to change the information for the investment account. I'm not sure what that, but I think it's worth reporting since we're financially in this together. He said, I would like for the finance committee to have a conference through Zoom or in person with the investment advisor. You know, I would say that if we're going to be meeting with the investment advisor, I think the entire board needs to be part at, so that we're all hearing the information, because it's fiduciary responsibility. It is not, you know, 3 people may be making recommendations, but all 9 of us are liable for the outcome. So my suggestion would be that any investment people that come to speak to the board will speak to the entire board. And Harry is not here, but since he has been to ask Betty Sue if she could get in touch with our investment people and have them come and do a presentation about the services that they offer us. And if we are so inclined or feel that we need to look at someone else, others can make that decision based
Now,
on.
can I interrupt you for just a second? Did this come up at the meeting that we were all at? I don't
Nope.
remember this.
Nope, this came up in an email. And I'm saying that the finance committee will not meet with an investor without the board being fully aware of what's going on. So I'm asking on behalf of the finance committee, if you would arrange for our current investors to come and give us a presentation so that we are aware of where our monies are, what they're doing, etc. Is there anyone that would like to something different?
Okay, I didn't get an email on this. I did not get an email directing me to do this. Do we know
No.
why?
I think what might have happened when we were at the meeting and we were talking about when the money come in, the tax levy, and we were talking about what account it should go in. And I had stated in that when I had read it should go into the investment account until needed. But
Okay.
but nothing else came up out of that. This is
Okay,
all
so
new to me.
I'm not missing a directive that
this
I
is-
was given at that meeting.
No.
Okay,
No,
thank
this is
you.
all new.
No.
All
That's
new.
all I care about.
This is all new, and I feel like it's worthy to look at, but we
Okay.
should all be looking at this. And then the finance committee, if they dig and find that they want to make a relation to the board, that would be different. But we all should hear what the investor group has to say about what's happening with the
Okay.
finances. So that
I
has.
will look into that.
Thank you. Next, the Black Regiment flag. We reviewed the contract that Betty Sue had received, and the committee is making the following recommendation. The motion is the Finance Committee recommends to the board that the director sign the contract immediately for the treatment of the flag, along with a deposit of $4,750 as mentioned in the July 28, 2020 letter from Gwen Spicer. And if necessary, after the use of the 10K donation received for the flag, authorize the director not to exceed her 2,000 limit for new vendors, and that includes the additional cost of $1,623, with the caveat that the Friends will be asked to support the project at a cost not to exceed $5,000. And the reason for, well, I'm not going to read all of the notes, just highlight those things. But that motion is something, if you all have a discussion are, but it's something that needs to be voted on and acted upon if one way or the other. Questions?
The concern was when we did meet the finance committee, and Betty Sue had a concern was that we wanted to take advantage of it now because maybe Gwen will get another project and then this will be put off. Like Betty Sue stated, we have the $10,000, but in the proposal for treatment that Gwen did send, it did state that there's a possibility if she gets in and start working and find that it might be more difficult or more work than what she had expected first, then she would contact Betty Sue, and then we would have to have a new estimate to, the more than the 10,000 and then the up to what she had estimated. So we just need
Joyce, can I ask a question on your motion? Did you
Yes.
have that as $1,623?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I had the same numbers. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, not a problem.
Okay, any other additional questions or concerns? Okay, so we need to vote on this. All in favor?
Do we need to vote or make a motion?
The motion was made. I read the
Okay.
entire
Yeah.
motion.
It's got to be second.
Not if it's a committee recommendation, it doesn't have.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's
All right,
correct.
so all in favor again, I'm sorry?
Can you read? Okay.
Nope, did you want her to read it again? It's fine.
Yeah, just read it again.
Okay,
Thank you, Joyce.
you're welcome. The Finance Committee recommends to the board that the director sign the contract immediately for the treatment of the flag, along with a deposit of $4,750 as mentioned in the July 2020 letter from Gwen Spicer. And if necessary, after the use of the $10,000 donation received for the flag, authorize the director not to exceed her $2,000 limit for new vendors, and that includes the additional cost of $1,623, with the caveat that the Friends will be asked to support the project at costs not to exceed $5,000.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, because that's passed. The other thing is the Finance Committee is working on, we'll start work on the budget for the next year, which has to be in place by January 1st, 2021. We hope to have it ready to present to the board by November 2020, at the latest December 2020, and to be so it'll be operational on the 1st of January. Mechanical ventilation. Well, as you can see, that is a work in progress. We are, who knew that we were going to have this problem that Betty Sue brought us tonight?
No idea.
But that being said, we'll be looking at the possibilities of merging services or not, based on the information that we get on billing and costs. And as we already know that regardless of whether we use someone for the smaller stuff, we definitely have to have someone in the wings who can do the bigger things, whether it's Train or someone else. We definitely need that so that we are not scrambling to find a vendor and that we have one on the ready. So there's going to be more to come with that, because in the future, we already know we're going to have to put a budget line item for the HVAC, considering that this is an aging system. Hoopla, we're seeing the Finance Committee envisions that Hoopla is going to become a line item as well, because with COVID, of the internet services has increased exponentially, and it will cost us money to continue to use that service. It will no longer be paid by NIOGA. So we have to budget. And I think, Betty Sue, you were saying, I didn't put it in my notes, that it could be from $40,000 to $60,000 a year.
No,
No,
no, it won't be that high. Nope,
No.
I can't put mine on it right at the moment. You're looking at, that was our book budget, used to be
Okay.
$40,000 to $60,000. What I am suggesting is that because Hoopla is providing materials, that we might be able to make money out of that book line and a
Right.
little bit out of
Yes.
the AV line and a little bit out of this line to put into, especially for Hoopla, because they will be, we won't need to spend as much on, let's say, books on CD, because
Right.
they can be accessed through
Right.
Hoopla. So
So
we
that-
keep promoting it and it keeps getting increased. So these are
Right.
good things.
Right. It absolutely is a good thing. And I should have said that, what you were saying, but once we start taking money from some of these other sources, Essence, Hoopla will become a line of its own.
It
And will
already
be the-
is. When the finance committee said they wanted to do
Yes.
a budget timeline,
Yes,
and Barb already printed out for me the form we used last year with the lines that you have asked to have added
Right.
up to
Yes.
this point. We
Thank
will
you.
not start filling this in yet,
no,
but this will be going to the finance committee for
Yes.
their approval to progress.
yeah,
As long as I'm
thank you.
talking and you can't shut me up, I'm going to tell you that during this meeting, Barb Kyler texted me for me that I asked her to distill votes into minutes. So
Okay.
it was Barb who
Okay.
did the minutes for us.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay?
thank you.
So
That-
thank you,
that's
Barb.
wonderful.
Thank you,
And now
Barb.
you at
Thank
least all
you.
know where that came
Thank
from.
you.
Yes,
Okay?
we appreciate that.
Mhm.
And
That's
then
you.
the last thing that I had was we had been operating with an old version of internal controls and financial accountability pamphlet, and Betty Sue graciously informed us that there's a new Attorney General in town, and they have updated that particular periodical, and that's what we'll be using to, to guide us through some of these issues on policy and procedure going forward with the Finance Committee. So for our next meeting, and the Finance Committee will be meeting the first Thursday of every month at 10:30 at the library. And I did put in our next meeting what some of the topics would be. The biggest one will be working on the budget to get it ready, and looking at some of the things that we've been talking about tonight, train of the disbursement policy,
Mhm.
and banks and investment firms. And that's it.
Thank you, Joyce.
All right. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, so I guess we're going to move on to Friends of the Library. Have they met, and has anyone attended a meeting for them? or
Oh,
with
they
them?
haven't been meeting yet. They've met once at, I believe, Mary Ann's house. They are not ready because most of them are in the category that's a little more at risk. They're not yet ready to open up the bookstore, which is why we are not accepting donations right now, because we've run out of room to put them. So I would assume they will meet fairly soon. and I will be happy to let you know what's up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to old business, HVAC exhaust. I believe we kind of discussed
Yes,
that.
Yes, we did.
So we're all set with that.
Yep.
New business, don't believe we have any, do we?
I have one thing, but I'm not sure whether it goes under old or new.
Okay,
And that is about, I sent something out to the ad hoc COVID-19 committee, but I haven't
Yes.
heard anything back, and I know everybody's been hugely busy. We did not allow for reservations for the month of August. We have not changed our hours back to what are our traditional hours. I sent an email out to the other Niagara board members or the other directors to ask what they are doing. And some of them are still not really even open yet. I know that we do not have to do what everybody else is doing, but I did think the one thing that made sense to me was that they are waiting until after the schools open to see how that goes before they start changing their hours and their room reservations and other things. But I did not want to make that assumption without checking with the board if you are okay with us staying until the September meeting with the Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, and not accepting large room reservations. We have let individual small ones in, but we're not advertising it yet so that we don't have to walk back that policy. I would just ask, I don't think it needs to be a motion or anything. I just would ask if you think that is acceptable at this time.
I would hold off, see what's going to happen with this. How many people do you have in here until 6 p.m. now?
At least 3.
So I'm good
What's
with,
your,
I'm good
pardon?
with keeping the hours like they are and not opening up any room reservations.
Yes,
The
but
only thing we have
she
allowed
is
is
having
we've
room
gotten a couple of
reservations.
things from social services where they needed a place to take a deposition, or they had to meet
Oh.
with newly sent clients or something like that.
Oh,
But most groups are not meeting yet either. So his
Okay.
ask has been turned down.
do you have, when you say small groups, what is the number that you're calling small group? Just
Okay,
for-
the Census Bureau asked to meet here, and
Right, I
I
remember.
allowed them because they were going to have no more than 2 or 3 people in each room, but they were going to use all the rooms trying to train census takers. So we stand to lose if they don't get us counted. So I did that. A couple of people have been here for a legal appointment, but we have had no programs here. It's just been
Okay.
if somebody's needed a place to meet because they can't go to the county yet, they can't go to the school, and sometimes if you have to take a deposition,
Okay.
it's like, okay, go over there because there's nobody else there.
Right.
So that's all we've done.
So what is the process of cleaning that room after they've left? Same as
Yeah.
you spray
It
it
gets
down?
cleaned nightly. I don't know, usually, like when we had the election people cleaned everything they used. I never thought, Linda, honestly, to say, I'm going to hand you the wipes, and when you're through, I want you to clean the table, the chairs, and the whatever. And I think that is something that we should do. We're very good about checking the bathrooms. You know, after 2 or 3 people have been here, we go in and check it and do that. And they're very faithful about checking and taking care of the computers out here. But that's a valid point. I don't know, and someone on the staff may have taken care of this, and because they're just plain good.
So my thing is, if people use a room, you could either leave it closed for an hour or 2, and then a staff member goes in and sprays the aerosol spray through the air
And we have that.
and sprays all that, but you leave that room closed for an hour or 2, or you go in immediately with a mask on and just spray as much in the air as you can. It'll drop.
Right.
Thank you. We will do that, Linda. Thank you.
The other part of that note that you sent out to the COVID
Yep.
task force ad hoc committee was the COVID leave policy. And I'm waiting until Terry is back because Terry, and I think Dan will have to come up with something for that. I had gone online and I've got a federal thing that looks at it as a part of FMLA, but I'll have to talk with them and see how they may want to, because it could be added to the FMLA policy that's already in the book if it's constructed within the federal and state guidelines, not to make it extraordinary, standalone type of a deal. But in terms of that group will discuss it, but I still think there may be it'll have to roll back to the finance committee if we're talking remuneration of any kind for people who are having extended leave, blah, blah, blah. But I think the FMLA policy will do a lot in terms of how that will be treated. If there's feedback from anybody else, don't hesitate to send it, because I can't see reconstructing, creating something new when we have something that very similarly would address the needs.
I also have, which I sent out a long time ago to the whole board, the recommendations from Greta Colkin at Woods Oviatt on what the law firm was recommending for this. So I will send it
Resend
out to the
please.
whole board again so that everybody
Please.
sees it. I also put the question out to the other directors, and most of them didn't even know it existed, except for good old Bob over in Batavia, who forwarded to me what he thought that this meant and how Batavia was going to handle it. Today, another question came up from the directors on the directors form, that wondering what to do if a staff member has had a family member who went to one of the states where if you return, you have to quarantine. And they have reached out to the local health departments who told them to call state, and state who said go to the local, and everybody is just going, no one is willing to tell you exactly what to do. So they're saying it will come down to your individual board decision.
Hey, Betty Sue.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in as a member of the public right now, just to let you know, Hayden just came back from California. So he had to either isolate in one room with his own bathroom and never leave the room. And that was subject to being checked. Or all of us had to be. That was our choice.
I missed your last part of that. You said
So,
all of you.
all of us had to quarantine if he did not isolate and was willing to be checked by the health department whenever they felt like showing up, that he was on isolation and not leaving the one room at all.
Wow. So
So
those are
as
things
his
that the
family
committee will
members-
have to decide.
Yeah. So, I mean, the option was that the rest of us could continue with our lives, but if they came to the house and he was under isolation, they still were going to take our temperatures. So we just opted to all stay home because it seemed in actuality easier to do that, because we just waited. Once his test came back, then we were released from that. We didn't have to do 2 full weeks because he was tested and it was negative, but yeah, we've all had to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
This policy,
It's quite clear. It's quite clear on the New York State website. If you are traveling through a state that's red, and you're going to be there for less than 24 hours, you don't have to do anything.
Right.
We had an employee come back from, we just made him have a test before he came back. We had an employee come back from North Carolina and they have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
Mhm. Yep.
with no
If he gets the test, can he return to work?
No, it's New York
Mm.
State mandate and law. He is coming from a banned state, basically. And
Okay.
if they turn into a banned state when you're down there, it depends on like when you got there. Like if you're leaving and it turned into one, then you're still okay. It's very, very clear on the New York State website.
Okay.
So,
Well, good.
so follow New York State guidelines and you'll be
Right.
good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. When do we have to have a policy in place?
For the COVID time?
Yes.
September,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure if it was September 1 or September 30.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
will find that and let you all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on to upcoming meetings and events. Again, the Finance Committee is meeting September 3rd at 10:30. Our regular scheduled meeting September 9th at 7 o'clock. I'm just at this time going to go around and ask if anybody has any additional things that they would like to say. I will start first, just for one, to remind people to sign their conflict of interest forms if you have not already done so. And also just to ask, I know that Terry sent out an email regarding creating an additional email for library business only. So I'm not sure, he said he suggested, it wasn't necessarily mandatory. Is that something that everyone is doing? And if so, when are we providing these emails so that we can update everything so that it's all just going to, as me having 2 emails and not knowing which one the mail is going to go to. I know for me, I'm gonna say as far as creating a separate email account, it gets I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I know for me, with the amount of emails that I get into the one that I'm using right now, they're there, but then sometimes they get lost because there's so many. But then I'm thinking if I already created a new one, but if I provide that one, am I going to always think to check that one because I'm never using it? So is it a waste of time to do that, or is this something that's kind of, we're not really sure? Is everybody, what are the thoughts and feelings on that, I guess?
Well, we talked about this last month. I created an email account today for the library. I just have to send it out to everyone, and I kept mine similar to what Terry had put in one of his emails. I just thought it would be easier, so I did mine at gnaughton.library@gmail.com, and I just did that before coming to the meeting. And I think the reason for it, after, I've been looking at so many webinars and reading so much. I think one of the reasons why they suggest that, if there should be something should happen legally, it would just be a lot easier to have the one email associated, with the library. You don't want all your. I don't think it would happen, but they said you wouldn't want a lawyer or somebody to come in and go into your personal email looking for emails from the library. So I just thought it would be easier to do it this way. I know, I believe, Linda, you said the school board, basically they have their own. You guys have your own.
Yes, the school set it up.
Right. I just think it would be easier that way. So I'm going to send everybody mine.
Okay.
And I'd rather for mine to go to that account.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I don't know how
opinions?
many Gmail accounts I can have. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 separate Gmail accounts. And let me tell you, if you go to send one, it kind of messes it up right now.
Okay.
I don't know how much of an issue that's going to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
You try it. What's the worst? And you'll get it from a different one of mine. I don't know.
Okay, well, it's not anything, again, in reading Terry's email, it was, suggested, but definitely not mandated that we had to do that, so I would assume that it's everybody's preference, but I think
Yeah,
for me, that's
Well,
It's just because if it's foilable, that's all.
right. Mm-hmm.
Which is what I said, and if you use that email for anything else, and you happen to forward it to, like I sometimes forward them to another one just because that's the account I have open and it's easier to read, then
that
that
becomes
email is
foilable.
automatically foilable too. So it's just a little tangled web. You have to be really careful with it.
Well, I
Okay, well,
think
that's,
it's
Mhm.
something that we don't have to decide tonight, but either we do or we don't. You know what I'm saying? Either we do it or we don't.
okay, well, we can definitely table that thought for next month.
Well, Kathy, Mrs. Harlan, do you have anything to on that? Since you sat through the school board ones a few times?
I don't. I don't have an issue using my email that's already set up. I'm like you have multiple accounts, but I'll do whatever the majority wants to do.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, that's all that I have. Mrs. Naughton, is there anything that you would have to say before we adjourn this meeting tonight?
Hey,
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Ms. DeBacco, do you have anything that you would like to say? Any questions, concerns?
You know me, I'm always good.
And
I'm ready
we
to
are
be
glad.
adjourning.
All right, Mrs. Joyce Riley, is there any questions, concerns?
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure.
My question is, on a couple of meetings, there was this, and I maybe my ears were turned off and I don't know, I never remember what it related to. Access to the building, keys to board members. What's that?
I have no idea. It was never discussed. No
Because
board
I don't
members
want
have,
keys to the library.
Mm-mm.
I
I
don't think
think-
any board member should have a key
No,
Thank you.
no.
Yep.
ever.
So does
No.
anybody know what that is? Because it's been on 2 months and I had no idea what that meant.
What did you say, Joyce?
Access to building, keys to board members.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, we don't know.
You'll
Okay,
have to ask Terry. He's the one who put it on there.
okay.
Okay?
So
Can I say,
that was
record,
my
I am
thing.
completely against it.
I
No
agree.
kidding. I don't want a key to this library,
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
But
just a bad
anyway,
idea all the way around.
I just, that's it. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Linda Weller, do you have anything to add, subtract?
The only things I would like is what are the to-dos from this meeting so we have it on the agenda for next time? I know Betty Sue has to send out, what?
I don't know.
About an email? We
She
just
did.
talked about it.
Oh, to the investment,
Yes,
the
Oh.
investment things? Yeah, I've already got it
Make-
written down. Thank you.
thank you.
So yes, I have to be tasked with contacting our investment people.
Yes, to do a presentation for us.
Yep.
And there was one other thing. So I guess I would like another to do that everyone has to have their conflict of interest forms turned in. I don't know who hasn't. So that should be on like a to do for the follow up for the next.
Maybe when we come in next time, if they have the paper ready when we sit
Yes.
down.
I
Or
will ask, you can task me with asking Barb and preparing the papers for those of you who need to sign them. Okay?
Yes, yes. Or
Okay.
else if she sends us the online, we can print it out
You
and
can
bring
print
it
it
the
and
next
drop
time
it
we
off.
come.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I just want to confirm that you've gotten mine because I signed it that day and sent it in. So,
And
I
So did
can't
I.
check right now, but I will check and
Please.
let you know.
thank you.
Yep.
oh, I do have one more thing. Sexual harassment.
Yes.
Sexual harassment training. I looked online today and I guess we can do it online there was a state website, www.nyc.gov, and it's like supposed to be like 45 minutes where we can get a training and a printout. If anyone is interested in getting it done that way, because it is mandatory for all board.
It
You
is.
email everybody that website. So
www.nyc.gov.
How about
Okay,
you
I didn't
email
catch any
that,
of that.
Joyce?
Yeah,
I'll email it to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that's on the to-do list?
Yes.
Can I ask Betty Sue,
Yep.
you know, the training that you guys did through me, is that okay for me to take it and give you a certificate that I've taken that from company?
Oh, if,
Think so.
I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
okay, because I
Because-
also just took one at work as well, and I have the
Right,
certificate for that,
And in
so.
the past, we, our young Miss Alicia, who worked for us, she was taking another job and had already gotten the sexual harassment training like you did through the county. And I think you just have to have it. I don't think they care where it came from.
I don't think so either.
Okay, yeah, because we just did ours at our office too.
So
if we
that
can
covers
just-
you.
If we can
Fred
just
just did
provide you,
his for the county.
Mhm.
So yes, I would say yes, Debbie.
all right, just send you the certificate so you can
Yep.
keep it on file. Thank you.
And I just got a text message from Barb. This is why I love the Zoom meetings. He says, yes, I have Debbie's. So she has your conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Okay? How is that for quick service?
Mhm.
The only other to-do thing that I, just if you haven't signed up for more than one committee meeting, obviously, please send an email to Terry. If you're not sure what committees you are on, email him, and I'm sure he can provide like the final of who has signed up for what. Other than that, Ms. Kathy Harling, do you have anything to add or?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, good to know. Linda, were you all set or you still had something else?
So for the committees, we have, the Personnel Committee has, and I could be wrong, Gloria, Debbie, and Joyce. The Finance Committee, we know, has Gloria, Debbie, Joyce. Buildings and Grounds has,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah.
Good
Nope.
Lord, don't put me on with anything with money. Jeez.
So Gloria, Joyce, and Terry,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Buildings and Grounds has
And Joyce.
Terry, Anitris, me, and Joyce. I don't have anyone for nominate. I didn't see anyone for nominations and elections. Are they on? Is someone on that?
You know,
We're not to my
If I
knowledge,
recall
but-
correctly, you don't worry about that a
Right.
lot until the beginning
Right.
of the year. So that,
Yep.
because they only have to do a couple of things. And
right.
the only person who won't be eligible for that committee for next year is
Who's running?
Gloria,
Right.
because if she chooses
Right.
to run again, she can't be on that committee.
Right,
So I wouldn't
right.
even worry about nominations and elections until
Right
after the
now.
first of the year.
Okay.
Right.
And no one's on local history at all.
No, no.
Also, I wouldn't worry about local history right
Right.
now. I think there's so much going on with the other committees that I've got Dee working on trying to organize and whatever, and as some of these other things get settled, maybe we can go back and reinstitute it, but for right now, nobody wants to come in from the public to do meetings, and that local history committee did use community members.
And
Okay.
the plan committee, who was on that one?
Planning.
Dan was on planning.
Dan.
I think
Dan.
Dan.
And that's
I think
it?
Dan and Terry, I think, was on that.
Okay.
And what about the executive committee?
That's your officers.
That's your officers.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
seldom does the executive committee meet.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, in the 5 years I've been here, I don't think it's ever met.
So the only ones we really need it for are the planning
Planning.
committee?
Yeah, planning.
Yep, just planning, so, all
Okay,
right.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so it is 8:50. Would anybody like to make a move to adjourn the meeting? Miss Linda and anyone with second? Miss
Debbie?
Debbie? I would like to thank you all very much for my first meeting.
did a-
I'm nervous and excited, but
You
thank
did a
you so
wonderful
much.
job.
You did.
Well, they
You
did.
did a
you did.
wonderful job.
Yep.
Thank
Yes,
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you. Have
And
a
you
good
kept
night.
it under 2 hours.
I
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Yes, great.
Terrific. Good night,
Good night,
all.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.